Now, if you've been following my channel, you know I've reviewed my share of gaming laptops. But they've been pretty big and heavy, pretty bulky, but they do pack a lot of power. But I've been starting to see more thin and light gaming laptops, and Acer just sent over one for me to check out. It's the Acer Predator Triton 300 SE. It's a 14-inch thin and light gaming laptop that has 144 Hz Full HD display. It's got the Core i7 and it's got the NVIDIA RTX 3060 discrete GPU. Let's see if this thin and light gaming laptop is worth your money. Hey everybody, it's Andrew and this is my review of the Acer Predator Triton 300 SE thin and light gaming laptop. Coming up. Now, the Acer Triton 300 SE is a pretty interesting laptop. It falls into the slim gaming segment, and it's got some interesting pricing. We'll get to that in just a moment. But what we're looking at here is a Core i7 11375H. That's an H35 processor, a 35-watt processor from Intel. Not the most powerful processor when you think of a gaming laptop. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But it also has a discrete GPU, the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060 GPU, and that's a 75-watt GPU. We'll get into the gaming numbers in just a little bit as well. Now, before we get to the pricing and the unboxing, I just want to let everybody know, in the interest of transparency and full disclosure, I'm not being paid by Acer, I'm not being sponsored by Acer. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Acer is not getting copy approval. That means they're seeing this video for the first time, just like you. Now, this review unit is on loan from Acer, and once this review is done, I'll be sending it back. The Triton 300 SE comes in at $14.99 US. You can find it over at Best Buy. For those interested, I'll leave a link in the description below for more information and where you can buy one. Now, I just checked Best Buy and there's also a different SKU that has a different discrete GPU. This one has the RTX 3050 Ti, a little bit cheaper at $1349.99. I'll have links for both in the description below. And with the specs and pricing out of the way, let's find out what you get inside the box. Let's open it up. You get a pretty compact 180-watt power adapter that uses a barrel pin connector, and they give you the extension cord as well. Now, this wouldn't be a gaming laptop if they didn't give you some stickers along with some documentation. And I love the fact that they give you a carrying sleeve in the box. It's a neoprene carrying sleeve, and it's a nice value add at no additional cost. Now, lifting the lid, you're greeted by the unit itself, and I gotta say, I really like the design. Very understated when it comes to a gaming laptop, not too ostentatious. Now, it does have a metal lid, and I think the chassis is plastic, but I'm not really sure. But it's a premium design, a sturdy build nonetheless, one of the better built laptops you're gonna get from Acer. Now, this is a slim gaming laptop, and it weighs 3.75 pounds or 1.7 kilograms. So if you want to take your gaming on the road, this gives you that option. Okay, let's check out the port selection. We're going to start off on the left side where you get a Kensington lock port, a heat vent, a power port, that's where you'll charge this laptop, a USB-A 3.2 Gen 2 port, and next to that is a USB-C Thunderbolt 4 port that is full service. That means you can do data, charge, and display out. And yes, you can charge this laptop via that Thunderbolt 4 port. And moving over to the right side is a 3.5mm microphone headphone combo jack. Next to that is a USB-A 3.2 Gen 2 port. And next to that is an HDMI 2.1 port. Now, one thing of note, there's no SD card reader. Would have been nice to include one, but all in all, I think it's a pretty decent port selection. Now, getting inside this laptop means you're going to have to remove the 9 screws on the bottom, pry off the bottom plate with either a guitar pick or a pry tool, and once you do that, you're in. Now, once inside, you'll notice a few things with this laptop, the dual fans for cooling. We'll get into that in terms of the thermals and cooling in a little bit. And it also has a 60-watt-hour battery on the smaller side for a gaming laptop. But remember, this is a slim gaming laptop at the end of the day. Now, when it comes to the RAM, it's pretty interesting. 8 gigabytes are soldered into the motherboard with 1 SODIMM slot open for you to expand out for a total maximum of 24 gigabytes of RAM, according to Acer. Now, this is DDR4 3200 RAM, and it's rank 16, the slower RAM as opposed to the rank 8 that we'd like to see, but not a huge deal, just something to be aware of. And you can expand out the storage. My unit has 512 gigabytes of PCIe NVMe Gen 3 storage. And as you can see from the reads and writes, they're pretty fast, although not the faster Gen 4 that we've been seeing here in early 2022. And above the SSD, you'll notice that it has a combo card when it comes to the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. It's Killer Wi-Fi 6 along with Bluetooth 5.1. Not the biggest fan of Killer Wi-Fi 6. It works okay. Would prefer the Intel variant, but nonetheless, you'll get some pretty decent download and upload speeds. And as far as the Bluetooth, the connections have been pretty good. I've had no issues. And the good news is that card is slotted in. So if you want to change it out later on, you can. And for those wondering, yes, you can open the lid with one finger, and the screen folds flat 180 degrees as you see here. Okay, let's talk about the keyboard, and I actually like it. It does have pretty decent tactile feedback, although it is a little bit on the shallow side. You never feel like your fingers will bottom out, and that's good. Very comfortable to type on for extended periods of time. Now, as far as the backlight, it has the RGB backlighting. It can be controlled in the settings in the laptop, so you get a lot of control as the user, which is good, and it lights up pretty nicely, so if you want to get work done or game in a dark room or a dimly lit environment, you can. Now, while this is a really nice keyboard, there are a couple of bizarre things that Acer went with on this. Now, for instance, if you want the brightness up and down, the buttons would indicate the one on the right, the F8, would actually make it brighter, but that's not the case. F8 actually makes it lower in terms of the brightness, and F7 makes it brighter, so they're actually reversed. That's a little bit weird. And your volume and media keys are located in that vertical row at the end, as you see here. That's obviously a little bit different than we normally see, but I actually don't mind it there. Once I did find it there, I actually got used to it. And it has a glass precision touchpad that I thought was very responsive and worked really well. Two-finger scrolling was very smooth, and all the gestures work as you'd expect. Good job on that front. Now, there's only one option when it comes to the display, and what we're looking at here is a 14-inch IPS display with a full HD resolution. That's 1920 by 1080. And yes, that is a 16:9 aspect ratio. Kind of wish it was a 16:10, the trend we're seeing more with gaming laptops here in early 2022, but this retains that 16:9 aspect ratio, which, by the way, is optimized for watching media, watching Netflix, Amazon, and YouTube, is certainly optimized for a 16:9 display. Now, it is also a matte display, so it means you don't get any unnecessary glare or reflections, which is great, especially for a gaming laptop. And it also has a high refresh rate of 144 hertz. That means you're going to get the really smooth scrolling, the really smooth gameplay, the very fluid experience when it comes to the OS. Now, one thing I've noticed with this display, the really deep black 0.17, the lower the better, and that's actually really great. Good white point, good contrast, really excellent contrast actually. It has a pretty good Delta score, 2.18, although I'd like to see it below 2. Remember, the lower the better means it's more color accurate, so I'd like to get that below 2. Now, the coverage of the color gamut is decent, not great. 96% sRGB, 72% Adobe RGB, 73% of the DCI P3 wide color gamut, and 67% NTSC. So if you're a content creator, this is really not the type of panel that's geared towards you. You want something either with a higher resolution, better coverage of the color gamut, and a little bit more color accuracy. But for a gaming laptop, what you're going to really love about this is the fact that it has that 144 hertz refresh rate. That's what you're looking for. The smooth scrolling, the smooth gameplay. This brings that to the table with this panel. And I kind of wish the display got a little bit brighter. Now, I measured 300 nits in terms of the brightness, which is going to be fine for both indoor and outdoor use. Remember, there's no glossy display on this. It's a matte display, so that's been pretty good. But I would like to see it a little bit brighter. So this is the front-facing camera on the Acer Predator Triton 300 SE. This is a pretty interesting laptop, 14-inch, pretty portable for a gaming laptop. Pretty nice that it has an RTX 3060. I'll have more to say about that in a little bit. But this is a 720p webcam. What do you think about the video quality? What do you think about the audio quality for Zoom calls, work from home, hybrid work needs? What do you think about it? Let me know in the comment section below. A couple of things to note. This is not an IR webcam. That means there's no logging in with face recognition with Windows Hello. There is, however, a fingerprint scanner located within the touchpad. And that worked well. Setup was easy. No issues on that front. There is no shutter switch either, just so you know. But again, what do you think about this camera? Let me know in the comments section below. The Triton 300 SE sports 2 downward-facing speakers. They're DTS audio, and I would say they're okay. The volume was decent. The mids were okay, and I thought it could use a little bit more bass. Sounded a little bit hollow to me, but overall, I'd say it's adequate if you want to hear something in a pinch, but of course, you want a more enhanced experience, use headphones that are either wired or Bluetooth. Okay, let's talk about performance. And as I mentioned earlier, this is running the Intel Core i7-11375H or 35-watt CPU. And I think that's where you're going to find the bottleneck. But the performance for everyday use, such as Microsoft Office, email, web browsing, perfectly fine, did really well, in fact. And it is, of course, paired with that NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060 with 6 gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM. So that's going to definitely help out when it comes to gaming. And as you can see, these are pretty respectable numbers, not going to blow you away. There are better options out there, especially at this price point. And it really emphasizes the fact that the CPU is really the source of the bottleneck here. But again, at the end of the day, pretty respectable numbers here, definitely playable frame rates on some of the more popular titles. And when I ran the Prime 95 stress test to see if this will thermal throttle under heavy load, I noticed the CPU would turbo boost to 4.299 gigahertz and reach a core temperature of 100 degrees Celsius. Yeah, it gets pretty hot. They do let it go to 100 degrees Celsius. Then it would go down to anywhere between 3.2 and 3.7 gigahertz. Not much thermal throttling, so they let it run hot. But the good news is the surface temperatures never get overly hot. And that's because under turbo mode, the fans really ramp up. And yes, they are pretty loud, almost ridiculously loud. That's how loud they are. Let's take a listen. Now, the good news is they do give you control over the fans in terms of the different modes. You got the quiet mode, which you can hardly hear the fans. Default mode, where they will kick in occasionally when needed. Extreme, you definitely hear it ramp up. And then, of course, with that turbo mode, with its dedicated button on the keyboard, as I showed you earlier, that really ramps up those fans, gets really noisy, almost too noisy, in fact, as I demonstrated. But I like the control they give to the user here as far as the different modes. So that is a lot of versatility in that regard. And as I mentioned earlier, this has a 60 watt hour battery, and it's a smaller battery compared to some of the other gaming laptops that have bigger batteries and of course will do better in terms of the battery life. I did 8 hours and 9 minutes on my continuous web surfing test over Wi-Fi at 150 nits. So if you're going to do intensive gaming and stuff like that, you're lucky to get 2 hours on this. Of course, real world mixed usage, expect anywhere from 5 to 6 hours. Now they do supply you with a 180 watt power adapter, and it took a little bit less than 2 hours for a full charge. Okay, let's bring it all home. What do I think about the Acer Predator Triton 300 SE here in early 2022? And I gotta say, it's a little bit expensive for what you get, especially at this price point. There might be better options out there if you're gonna pay about $1,500. But having said that, if you could find it on sale, I like what they offer here as far as a thin and light gaming laptop, especially with a 14-inch display. I like the 144 hertz. It's a matte display, although I wish it got brighter than the 300 nits that I measured. It's got a nice, mostly all-metal build, but it is a pretty sleek, modern look. It's got a comfortable RGB keyboard, a very responsive glass touchpad, upgradable SSD, Wi-Fi, and RAM. Remember, 8 of those gigabytes of RAM are soldered into the motherboard. There's a SODIMM slot for you to upgrade the rest with a maximum of 24 gigabytes. But I like what Acer did here. I'm going to give this a score of 81%. And if you're in the market for a thin and light gaming laptop with a 14-inch display, this is one you might want to check out, especially if you can get it on sale. So what do you think about this bad boy, the Triton 300 SE? I like this really interesting design on the cover. It's a metal design here, really nice. It's got an iridescent purple type blue color, changes depending on the lighting condition. Rock solid, no give or flex in the chassis. Very good build quality. Probably one of the best built laptops you're going to see from Acer. Really impressive. It's got a Core i7-11375H, and that is the source of the bottleneck, as I mentioned in the video.
but it's got an RTX 3060, so that sort of makes up for it, but not totally. But at the end of the day, it's still a very capable gaming laptop. For a thin and light gaming laptop, this is definitely one you want to check out, especially on sale. But it definitely can handle some of the more popular titles, as I showed you some of the numbers in the video. So not too bad. Now, it does run hot internally. It can get up to 100 degrees Celsius, and it pretty much remains there under full load. So you will hear the very, very loud fans, especially when you use the turbo mode, as I showed you in the video. That definitely helps with the performance, but you definitely will have to contend with the noise. But the good news is it has the Predator Sense application that allows you to control the different modes, to control the fan noise, and that certainly helps. But again, it's a balance between performance and, of course, thermals and efficiency. Now, speaking of efficiency and battery life, not the biggest battery in this, 60 watt hours. I got about 8 hours on my continuous web surfing test. You're looking at about 5 to 6 hours, I think, of mixed use. If you're going to do gaming on battery, you're definitely going to take a hit on the battery life. Looking at 1.5 to 2 hours, you can't expect more than that. But not so unexpected in terms of a thin and light gaming laptop. But I'm curious to know what you think. Let me know in the comments section below. Now, you can pick up this laptop for $14.99 over at Best Buy, but they do run sales. And there is another SKU that does come in at $13.49, which is a little bit better than the $13.99. But that version, and again, I didn't test that one, has the RTX 3050 Ti. Not quite as good a GPU as the one we have here today. But if you can find it on sale, the one I did, if you can find it on sale, definitely pick it up at a reduced price. At full price, there are better offerings out there, especially here in early 2022, as we're starting to see more thin and light gaming laptops. For example, the Acer Zephyrus G14, which I hope to get into the studio very soon, is one of its competitors. That's running an all AMD GPU and CPU combination. We'll talk more about that soon. But as far as what it is worth $1,500 here in 2022, I think on sale, this is one you want to look at. Full price, not so much. So please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this video. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's a device or something out there you think I should review. I'll do my best to try to make that happen. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, my website, amdtechreviews.com. So until next time, this is Andrew from AMD Tech. See ya.